Good morning here from the Finisterre Mountains from Aurora. This morning my voice might sound a little bit different. I'm still busy getting over a cold and it's early morning. You might hear some birds chirping in the background or the wind stirring a little bit. So I'll start by sharing with you guys something about gardening. Here in our mountains, people usually help one another with making gardens. It's a big job and they like to get the job done quickly. So they usually ask help from one another. And so when I just arrived, just a little bit of a background story, there was a man who gave me a banana tree. And so I planted the banana tree with the help of two people, and I forgot who helped me. And later on, as my banana tree was growing, and especially about a few months ago, as my banana tree started to produce these huge bananas, people started asking me who helped me to plant my bananas. And I didn't know, I forgot. I arrived here recently, I didn't know the people. I know two people helped me, and I would tell them, I can't remember who helped me plant my banana tree, and they would look at me and they'd tell me, "You're lying to us." And the reason why they say that is because in this culture it is very, very important to remember who helps you with doing certain jobs. The reason for that is that you would give them some of the harvest. Whoever helps you to plant trees or seeds would anticipate that they would share in the harvest. So it's very important to remember, and they do remember. They remember who helped them with things and who gives them things. This culture and friendships here kind of revolves around the aspect of giving and receiving, and they give expecting to receive in return. Give is always reciprocated, and so it's very important that you remember who help you with things and who give you things. So I didn't know that for quite a while, but after being here for a few months, I learned that that's what the expectation is. And so what I sorry, what I had to do is I started making a spreadsheet on my computer. And so now whenever someone helps me plant some things or gives me seeds, I take note of it and I make a note on my computer, and so I remember when my bean harvest comes to take some of the beans and to go give it to this person. So that's just something with regards to their culture about giving and receiving, and as it relates to gardening. And lastly, I want to share with you guys a little bit about names, something about names. One of the first phrases that you want to learn when you learn a new language is to ask, "What's your name?" And so that's what I did. I learned the phrase for "What's your name?" when I just arrived, "Neko ke neko." And I would walk around and I'd say, "Hey, Neko ke neko." And people will not answer me. They'd be like ashamed, like they'll tilt their head down. And then shortly afterwards, I realized that people are very ashamed to say their own names here. And so I needed to learn another phrase. I needed to learn Nekoyong Neko, which is what's his or her name. And so I learned that, and afterwards life went well for me. I was able to get people's names because I got to ask people around them, "Hey, what's that person's name?" Or, "Hey, what's that person's name?" And so eventually I was able to learn the name. So it's a shame to call your own name, even when my language helpers tells me stories. When they tell me stories, they would not mention their own names in the story. They'd kind of walk around it, and it's interesting how people even refer to their family. Wives do not call their husbands "my husband." They'd say they'd call one of their kids' names and said their father. Even with Cassidy and Alna, and they'd speak about Ryan's wife or Zach's wife, my teammates. They'd refer to who they're closely connected to or what's their closest relation. And they also rarely call one another's names. They have nicknames for one another too. Something's interesting, there's a guy in our village who has big teeth, and so they'd call him Teeth. There's a guy that has a big belly, and so they'd call him Belly. There's a guy with a bald spot on his head, and so they have a word for a bald spot on your head, and they would call him that. So people love to call one another all different names, and so I do that too. There's this cute little boy in our village who wears blue pants always, and so every time I see him I'd say, "Hey, the blue pants boy." And so they would refer in that way to one another. People usually have two names, a name that that their parents will give them, and then when they're older, they'll pick their own name. If they like a certain name, they'll pick their own name. Their parents do not name them when they're very little. They usually it's our mosquito. They usually wait until the babies are bigger, a few weeks or even a few months old, before they give them a name. The reason for that is when their ancestors pass away, they believe that they cannot let their names be forgotten, or the spirit of the ancestor that still hovers on the earth will be angry at them. And so they'll wait before they name the babies until the name of the ancestor that wants to be remembered comes to their mind. He kind of presses them to give that name to the baby, and then they'll name their babies. It was a pleasure to have been making this video for you guys, and I'm looking forward to make my next video. I want to share with you guys a little bit about house building, and hopefully share some videos with you guys of some house building projects that's currently going on in the village.